Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron, and in this video we're going to be doing a AK Interactive basic weathering series. Now, what's all this all about? Well, first off, AK Interactive, who are they? If you don't know about AK Interactive, they are dedicated to weathering your scale models from armour, ships, aircraft, miniatures, you know, anything that gets weathered in real life, you know, that's what AK Interactive is all about. And they cover, you know, pretty much the whole range of sort of weathering with lots of different products to give you different effects in weathering, from getting filters to change the tones of colours and make them look more lively, to washes to bring out your detail and showing a built-up dirt in recesses and everything, to streaking, grime, rain effects, chipping, all sorts of rust, you know, you name it, you know, they have a product that will represent whatever weathering it is. So in this weathering series, this basic weathering series, I want to show you a couple of their products, to show you a couple of their different weathering techniques, to be able to at least take whatever model it is you're working on and have some sort of nice weathering effect that looks really, really cool. Now, this is a basic weathering series, so yes, you know, there's lots more sort of weathering that I could do and show you, and probably some later episodes or something. But for now, you know, let's work on the foundation of weathering. So we're going to be looking at doing some spray work. We're going to be looking at filters, washes, chipping. We're going to be doing some streaking effects, and then we've got like stuff like mud, like chunks of mud and mud splatter and stuff, and that is pretty much the basic foundations to really sort of, you know, bring your whatever it is model you're working on alive. As I say, there are a load of other techniques that you could do to really sort of make your model stand out even more, but as the foundations of just getting a model weathered up, you know, that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, in this series, we're going to be working on two models. I've already built them. So that we can just crack on with the weathering. We're going to, oh, that's not that one. We're going to be looking at, we have a kit here. It's a Mark 1 Whippet by Ming. Now, it's a World War I British tank. Now, I've picked this particular tank because, one, we're talking World War One. Now, World War One, we're talking very muddy, dirty, grimy trench warfare. So it really gives us the opportunity to really sort of show off mud, you know, and really sort of dirty up and really go to town with weathering at one of our products here. Plus, this kit is absolutely fantastic, and the tracks for it as well are really, really cool, and we can sort of work on muddying up tracks as well. The second kit, right, and this is just to sort of show you two different types of kits of weathering and stuff. We're going to be using Revell's Land Rover 109 Series 3. This is 1/35 scale, and in all honesty, it's a dog awful kit. It's a couple of decades old. You know, it does take quite a bit of filler, sanding, scribing, all this kind of stuff to bring it up to scratch. But the whole idea is we've also got two different theatres. We've got a muddy theatre, World War I trench warfare, and then we've also got the Gulf War, desert, sandy, dusty type warfare, so we can show you the different weatherings in that respect, as well as, you know, we've got wheels, so we can be looking at wheels and tracks, so we can sort of look at the differences there as well. So starting off with episode 1, what we're going to do, we're going to take these two tanks and we're going to spray them up AK Interactive style. So to start off with spraying, what we're going to be looking at is preparation. When it comes to scale modelling, a lot of people make their mistakes when they first start out by not really sort of preparing their work properly. So we've got our Land Rover just here, and the problem is we've got all sorts of potential contaminants on the model. We're talking like bits of hair, dust, greasy fingers. There's the mold release agents as well that you get on models, although that's not really such a big issue these days, but it can still be there. And what we need to do really is, you know, nice simple kitchen paper towel, right? And what I've got in this bottle is IPA. It doesn't matter if it's 99% IPA, 90% IPA, just some sort of IPA. Really is a good tool to use for any type scale modelling, and we just dip this in onto our kitchen paper towel, and what we want to do is just rub down lightly our model, right? And I'm not going to show you all just to speed things up, but basically nice little circles we get all over the model. And what's happening here is actually, you can actually see it's a little bit dirty there on the end of the kitchen paper towel, and that's bringing up all sorts of dirt and nasties and stuff off the surface of the model. And because it's IPA, it evaporates almost instantaneously, so you know, we haven't got to worry about having a wet surface or anything like that, or leaving anything nasty behind, and we know we're all good and clean, ready for spraying, which I'm going to go show you now after I've just gone around and just cleaned up all these models. Now, before we start actually spraying this and painting the colours and everything, getting ahead of ourselves, we want to be using a primer. Now, primers are very important and sometimes overlooked for a beginner. What I'm using here is AK Interactive's Grey Primer, which is AK175, and it's a waterborne polymer. Basically, it's designed specifically to be a primer. It's not just, you know, a normal pot of paint, acrylic paint off the shelf. You know, it's more designed for that first layer of paint. And what it basically does, it just makes the surface really, really nice. Some of these primers are like micro fillers, so it fills in tiny little scratches and stuff on your model, and just makes your surface perfect, as well as it helps. Well, basically this adheres to the model better, and it helps all your other coats of, say, acrylic paint afterwards really sort of adhere nicely to the model. So give it a good shake, and you might also hear there is a ball bearing here. I do recommend AK Interactive do sell these steel shakers. They're just little ball bearings. You get loads of them in one of these pots, and it really is cool just to pop one of them in there. I'm also going to be using AK Interactive's Acrylic Thinners, which is AK712. Now you want to pour this in first, right? And you want about a 50 mix, right? You want to pour this in first because the thinners, right, will go down into the needle end, and there's actually a bit of a reservoir-ish sort of thing going on down the needle end, but you can't actually get down to that part to actually mix them together. So you want that in there first. Right, then you want to pour in your primer. Right, again 50-50. One part this, one part that. Then get in an old paintbrush. We can then mix the thinners and the primer together. And this is what I meant about putting in the thinners first, because we can't actually mix what goes down into like the needle end of our airbrush here. So we give that a good mix. Right. And then what we want to do, we just want to, before we actually do any spraying on the model, you know, let's just check, you know, we're flowing nicely and that it feels and looks sort of nice. And then really what you want to do is, what's good with armoured vehicles is that we can spray the underside first, just to make sure our, you know, just to double make sure that our spray pattern is looking good. And what we want is just a nice feathered look. Right, and what we also want to do is spray this on a Misty Coat. As you can see there, that is not heavy at all. It's very misty, it's very light, and that's what you want from any first coat of spraying that you do in pretty much any of scale modelling. Is that first coat wants to be nice and misty, and the reason for this is you want the paint to actually stick and adhere to the model, and by having that first light misty coat, it just helps that happen. And because it's only a misty coat, we can press down the trigger to just get air, and it does dry up really quick because, as I say, it's just a misty coat. And then we can come along with, say, a normal light coat. Right, we're not talking heavy, just a nice light coat. Right, and as you can see, that's nice and light. It's still not got 100% coverage because we're going to need to put maybe 2 or 3 coats of our primer on here. So yeah, and then you want to sort of let that dry now. Although it dries sort of quickly, you can like leave it 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, spray another coat on top until you've got good coverage, and then you should be all ready for what's going to be next, which is doing some modulation. So there's all our primer done all nicely on our whippet here. It does feel, you can sort of feel how it just feels nicely smooth, and that's just really sort of nice and perfect for the spraying that we're going to be doing. Now the colours I'm going to be using is AK Interactive's sort of modulation set for World War I British armour. The colours we have is, we have AK 4043, which is World War I British khaki brown shadow. We've then got the 4042, which is the brown base. This is our main colour, and then we have our brown highlight, which is AK 4041. Right then, so what we want to start off, we want to start off with the darkest and going lightest when it comes to doing a modulation effect. So what we're going to do, you know, give these paints a good shake. These are acrylic based paints. I've put one of those ball bearing steel shakers in there, really good sort of purchase that is. So give it a good shake. We're going to be using AK Interactive's acrylic thinners here as well. So we want around about 20 psi, it's maybe just below 20 psi. And we want to, again, you know, pour in our acrylic thinners first, right? Remember, we want the first thing coming out of our airbrush is to be acrylic thinners, not just thick undiluted paint, because it can sort of start blocking up the needle before you've even started spraying. Let's get some kitchen paper towel down as well, right, just to protect our surface a little bit. And then what we're going to do, remember, give it a good shake, and we're going to pour in a 50-50 mix about, right. You can sort of spray these neat as well, but I'd only recommend it for like small bits. When you do something like a whole model with this kind of coverage, I do recommend you sort of like thin it down, right. And you know, it's better to do more coats than to do one big thick coat and spray it on and try and get your coverage that way, because it just leaves nasty, it just doesn't work really well. You get nasty marks and stuff. So I've mixed that in, and as always we want to check how our paint is coming out of our airbrush, right, and that's looking good. Again, turn your model on the underside, because this is the side that no one's really going to see. So you know, if there is something wrong with the way this is spraying out, it's not going to matter on the underside. Right, and as you can see, I've started off with that, again, light misty coat. As always, light misty coat. You know, let's put something down, let's give something for our paint to actually stick to. Right, and then we can press down the trigger just for air. Right, and that should dry off really quickly. Now, you can get a lot more complicated with modulation, but for this one we've just got 3 colours, and I want to sort of keep it a little bit on the simple side, basic side. So with this brown shadow, it is just a case of do your misty coat, then do a light coat, let that dry, come back, do another light coat, and keep building it up until you've got 100% coverage. And you know, it's as simple as that. So I'm just going to get this sprayed all the way around. So there's our brown shadow nicely on there, which is rather a lot darker than what we would want this, but we've got nice coverage all over. And what we're going to do now is, this is where we start really sort of doing the modulation. I'm going to be using our brown base AK4042. You know, remember, give it a good shake. Now with this colour, yeah, we maybe want to like 50-60% finish. We want to sort of thin it down a little bit more, because what we want to do is we don't want to just spray on this and have great coverage. We want to make the paint a little bit transparent, because we still want this brown shadow to still come through. We still want to sort of see it, you know, so we don't want coverage really, we want to have the paint transparent. So as I say, we're going to be using the Acrylic Thinners by AK Interactive. We're going to pour a nice amount in here and have that 60% thinners to 40% paint, right? So let's pour this in here. Now this is the base colour, so really this is the colour, right? This is the colour that we want to be spraying this. Now I've just accidentally spilled that, so let's just quickly wipe that up, because we don't want that dripping down to the needle end, because it'll pull up on the needle end. When you press down for air, it'll just splatter paint out, and it's not a good look. As always, using the paintbrush, an old paintbrush, let's get it mixed in with the thinners, right? So modulation, this is where we're going to be picking edges and sort of making highlights with this. So let's first start off with say our tracks here, right? What we've got is, we want to sort of represent shadows, sunlight, highlights, right? So what we're going to do is, we want to sort of make a highlight on the top, because normally shadows, it's going to be the lower side of the model, right? This bit here, which is going to be darker, and it's going to be the top part that's going to be lighter. So what we want to do, we want to sort of represent this by sort of making a highlight at the top. Now to do this, let's start off by, you know, getting some Tamiya masking tape, right, and we sort of want to make a bit of a hard edge, right? Now we don't have to worry too much about making this part that perfect, because luckily, right, our tracks are actually going to sit on here, and literally they're going to cover up maybe any sort of mistakes, but still, you know, I still want to sort of show you. So we've got our paint mixed up, and what we're going to do now is we're going to spray this